And we're on page 31 in your grammar book. So let's get started. 31. Okay, today we're going to learn something called sentence openers. And it says sentence openers are descriptive words and phrases and clauses that are added to a sentence, the beginning of a sentence. Using different sentence openers makes writing more interesting. So remember, this is a style and structure class. So everything we do, we learn in the grammar book and we apply it to our writing. It's giving your writing more style. And this is one way you can do that. In this book, you will learn 5 different types of sentence openers, 5 ways to open or begin a sentence. And after you mark a sentence, determine if the sentence begins with an opener that you know. If it does, you're going to mark it. Do not mark questions or quoted sentences. So questions and quoted sentences are the only ones that are not considered an opener or don't have an opener. So the first one you're going to learn today is called the subject opener, and it's a number 1. Okay, and it says a number 1 subject opener is a sentence that begins with the subject of the sentence. That's why it's called subject opener. But sometimes those sentences start with an article. Remember, those are like a, an, or the. That's technically the first word sometimes. And then sometimes there's adjectives before the noun or the subject. But it's still considered a subject opener because the noun or the subject, because usually the subject is a noun. If it's the first few words, then that's called a subject opener. And you're going to write a number 1 with a circle around it. That's going to label the subject opener. You also write the word subject, and you'll see as we go here. This example, Robin spotted a deer in the field. That's pretty obvious because it's starting with the noun Robin. It's a proper noun. And it's also the subject. Okay. So it's a subject opener for that sentence, Robin spotted. Remember that subject and verbs always go together. They're a pair. So this one's labeled 1 for subject opener. Hi, Ian, we're on page 31 in your grammar, okay? The next example right here says, the swift deer leaped into the forest. Even though it starts with the, that's an article, and swift is an adjective, but deer is next, okay? It's still considered a subject opener, even though it's like 3 words into the sentence. It's a noun. The deer is a noun, but it's also the subject of the sentence. Leaped is the verb that pairs with that subject. The next opener you're going to learn, which is, you're learning 2 of them today, the prepositional opener. And you'll notice it's a number 2, so you'll label this one with a number 2. And prepositional opener starts with a preposition, and those are going to be prepositional phrases, and you'll be able to identify those because we've marked on our page with this Post-it, remember those prepositions list? So that'll help you identify these openers too. And you're going to mark it with a number 2, like this example here. Along the road, Robin walked quickly. So here we have along the road is the phrase, the prepositional phrase. So we're going to label this a prepositional opener, which is a number 2 with a circle around it. The next one, along the narrow and winding road, Robin walked quickly. Notice this one has a comma. We're going to talk about that here, but I'm going to just tell you now. When the prepositional phrase has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it has 5 or more words, you need a comma. If the prepositional phrase has just less than 5, like this one, no comma. That's the comma rule with prepositional openers. Ian, did you have a question? Go ahead.
I can barely hear you.
It might be speaker. Can you turn up the volume?
Here, I have the volume like all the way up. And You're like glitching out.
Am I doing that for anybody else? No, okay. It might be your internet, Ian. It might be unstable.
Yeah, it just popped up. It said my internet was unstable.
Yeah, okay. So one way to help that is to turn off your camera, and that's okay for today because it takes some extra bandwidth with your camera on. So try to turn off your camera and see if I sound better or if it's not as glitchy. But
I
since you're
had my camera turned off, but it still sounded glitchy.
okay, I don't think there's a way for me to be able to fix that. So, yeah, I think you're just going to have to hang in there with it. The good news is I am recording this, so if you needed to watch it later, you can, okay? I'll send you the link on Google Classroom.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ian. I don't know how to help you. Maybe you could ask your mom if she's there, if she can help you fix that. But I'm not sure how from my end. I don't think I can help you do much with that.
Okay.
Okay. This example here, this next one says, along the narrow and winding road toward Nottingham, Robin walked quickly. Notice there's two prepositional phrases together, back to back. And then you use a comma after the second one. Okay, if you have two back to back like that, that's when you use a comma, but it's still labeled a number 2 for the opener, for the prepositional opener. And then these comma rules I already went over as we talked about those sentences. So does anybody have any questions about this page? No? Okay, good. There's a little more on the back. Page 32. Adverbs. Okay, you already know ly adverbs. Those we're using in your writing. And there's more than just ly adverbs though. So here it says, an adverb modifies a verb, an adjective, or another verb. An adverb tells how, when, where, why, and to what extent. Okay. So there's different words you can use for that. We're used to using ly adverbs, and those are good, but there's others too. It says here in week 5, we learned about ly. So some do not end in ly. Here's some examples at the end of that little paragraph there. Very, together, never, and soon. Those are considered adverbs because they tell when and how. Remember, those are the questions you ask. When you see a verb, you can ask those questions. How, when, where, why, and to what extent. Here's your example. Robin usually had his bow with him. This one's easy to identify because it has a ly, and the verb is had, okay? So it's modifying had, usually had. And that one's easy. This one, though, Robin always had his bow with him. Some adverbs do not end in ly. The adverb always tells when. So look again at the verb had and ask yourself when. When did Robin have his bow? Oh, he always had. So that becomes the adverb here, always. In this example, Robin did not have his bow with him. The words yes, no, not, to function as adverbs. When you see them, label them as adverbs. So this word not is an adverb. So it's going to get a little tricky here because they're going to throw these words in your homework pages here. But notice that those are adverbs. So here's an example. Robin was very confident as he carefully aimed at the deer. So we've got how confident, because here's that word, here's the verb, confident. You always check the verb first. Look for the verb and then ask yourself those questions. How, when, where, why, to what extent. That's how you find the adverb. Okay, so very is an adverb here. And then this one's easy to spot because it has the ly. Those are always adverbs. Carefully aimed. Aimed is the verb. Okay, any questions about adverbs back here? Okay, good. Let's go to the practice page. Anybody feel like reading it today? Okay, Kylie.
In anger, the forester impulsively sprang to his feet, grabbed his bow, and shot an arrow at Robin.
Good. Impulsively. Kylie, do you know what impulsively means?
Angrily, I don't know.
Kind of.
Like
Anybody else?
rapidly.
Rapidly? Yeah, that's closer. It's basically like, have you heard the term a knee-jerk reaction? When you just respond, okay, you haven't heard that one either. When you're reacting automatically, like if you're outside playing soccer with some friends and you see the ball go up in the air, you automatically cover your head, right? Because you think it might be heading towards your head, even though you're not sure where the ball is, impulsively. Or when you, another way to say it is quickly, hastily, and acting emotionally sometimes too. So out of impulse, he sprang to his feet. So, and grabbed the bow and shot an arrow at Robin. So he just automatically did that. Okay, check by vocabulary. Articles a and the. There's only two, so go ahead and find them and label them. And then let's have Ian, where are the 6 nouns? There's 6 of them here. Can you find those? Can you hear me okay, Ian?
Yeah. Bow,
Bow, good.
arrow,
Yep,
robin,
yep,
forester,
yes.
feet,
Good. And the last one is actually anger. That one's hard to identify because anger feels like it could be a verb, but because it's in anger, in is a preposition. So part of the phrase is in anger, it ends on a noun. So that makes anger turn into a noun. Sometimes anger could be even an adjective here, but in the way it's used in this sentence, it's a noun. Okay, good. And then adjectives, Natalia. Those are words that describe the noun.
his,
Good. His feet is an adjective. What else? There's one more.
and the other his.
And the other his, yes. So sometimes those could be pronouns, but the way it's used here, it's describing whose feet. So you're right. Good job, Natalia. His feet and his bow. Those are the adjectives. How about Kylie? Do you see the adverb in this sentence?
Impulsively.
Yes, and that one's pretty easy to find because it does have ly. Good, Kylie. Impulsively sprang. Okay, let's go on to Jason. How about the coordinating conjunction? Remember, that's the word.
And.
Good, good. You got it already. Easy peasy cheesy. Remember fanboys? That's what you use for that. I'm going to come back to the prepositional phrases here. And let's move on to the verbs and subjects. So I'm going to go back to Ian. Help me find the verbs in this sentence. The action words.
Sprang,
Good,
shot,
good,
grab,
good. Those 3 are the 3. Now notice it says one subject verb pair, but that just means there's only one subject, but there's multiple verbs. So don't think that there's only one verb with it. You have to make sure to check to see if you get,
can I do the subject verb pairs.
Sure. What's the subject?
Forester.
Good. So S on top of the noun. Very good. And now it's going to be easier to find those prepositional phrases. So Natalia, look for the words that don't have a label on them yet. And there's 3 prepositional phrases here. Can you find them?
To his feet.
To his feet is one. Very good. So it ends on the noun feet. Good. To his feet. What else?
At Robin.
Good. At Robin. Yes. And one more.
And in anger.
Yes. Excellent. So see how that's easier to find. Once you finish the whole list and leave that one till after you do those others, it's easy to find. You can see that those don't have a label. So at has nothing on top of it, to has nothing on top of it, and end has nothing on top of it. So those are going to be your prepositional phrases. They end on a noun. All right, so now we're down to the opener, Kylie. So what opener do we have for this sentence right here at the beginning? It's either going to be number 1, subject opener, or number 2, prepositional opener. You're muted, so I can't hear you.
A prepositional.
Yes, and that's a number 2. Good, because it is a prepositional phrase right here. So what you're going to do is put a 2 with a circle and then put prepositional. And you can write it at an angle like that. That's fine. But that's the opener. It's a number 2 prepositional opener. Good. Starts with a preposition. All right, over here we've got capitals. So Jason, where do the capital letters need to be?
In and Robin.
In and Robin. We've got comma, 2 commas. Do they need to be put in or taken out, Ian? Where do the commas go? Well, there's no commas yet in there, so we probably need to add 2 commas. Do you know where they go?
Picking up again.
Can you hear me okay, or is it hard to hear me?
What?
It's okay, Ian. I know you're having trouble with your sound, so I'm gonna have Natalia help me with this, okay? It's okay. I'm gonna have Natalia help me. Go ahead, Natalia. Where do you think the commas go? Uh-oh, I can't hear you, Natalia. Oh, you're thinking, sorry.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a clue if you're struggling with that one. And is here. So you're looking for how to list. Remember how if you have like 3 or more things that you're listing, you use comma between. So that's your clue. So you have not after and. So you have in anger, the forester impulsively, okay, he sprang to his feet, comma, grabbed his bow, comma, and shot an arrow. So he sprang, he grabbed, and he shot. Because there's 3 verbs that are listed in a row right there with and, it's supposed to go like that. Does that make sense, Natalia? Okay.
Yeah.
It'll get easier to find as you go, but anytime you have 3 or more listed, use commas. And then what do we need at the end, Jason? The end mark?
Period.
Yep. Okay, phew, we did it. That's a little clue for you. If you're struggling with prepositional phrases, skip that and come back to that. You'll see which words that are not marked, and then finish the rest of it. And then later you're going to write it down here at the bottom, and your homework will be the next 3 pages, which is 34, 35, and 36. Do you guys have any questions about the homework or anything we did today? Okay, good. You're good. All right, and go ahead and get out your binder next. Good job. Okay. On your homework this week, okay, sorry, I was reading a note here. Minimize this. I made some comments on your homework, and I want to make sure you know how to find those. Have you guys been able to see my comments that I put on your doc? Oh, good. Jason has. Let me just show you really quick what I mean by that. When you log in to Google Classroom, and I think everybody in this class is typing their papers. Pretty much, I think, except for Kylie. She's like, no, I'm not. Okay. So that's okay, Kylie. You can still turn yours in the way you've been doing it. But when you go to Google Classroom, I made a fictitious student, a fake student. This is Bob Smith. And this is his Google Classroom, okay? Because I wanted you to see it from a student perspective. When you get into Google Classroom, you're going to go to the classroom or the classwork tab right there. And then you'll see all of the assignments in a list here. But above that, do you see where it says view your work? You're going to click on that link right there, view your work. And then you can click on this. This one's been graded. It says 10 out of 10. So you're going to click on that document. And when you click on it, it'll open up. And then it'll show you my comments on the side here. This is important for you to learn how to find because I give you very specific feedback on your paper. And I want you to be able to read my comments. You'll notice if I click on that first comment here, it'll make it darker on the part that I'm highlighting. This comment goes with this. And it says, please underline who for your dress up word. Also add a comma before it. So I'm giving you feedback on how to fix things on your docs when you type it in. Kylie, did you have a question?
Yeah. The paper right by the text. What is that for, like the typing the paper?
Like this part right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you're typing, and eventually when you're ready to type, I can show you how to open that. It's called a Google Doc, okay? And that's how you.
I don't think I'm ready yet.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. You can still turn it in the way you've been doing it. That's okay, Kylie. Because what I'll do is make your comments in a different area and you'll be able to find them easy, okay? This is if you're using Google Docs. So like if I click on this comment, it highlights this word. I made a comment that says, nice job adding keywords from your last sentence in your title. So that's how you find those. Jason, did you have a question?
Yeah, so should we be checking all of our previous stocks now, just in case? Or is there like a specific one?
Yeah, good question. I started this, hold on, in this last week. Let me get back to here. Okay. So I didn't make any comments on your documents in the old stuff. So there's no need to go back to the old stuff. The first one that I started commenting on was the one that was due this week. Okay. But check from this week on, you can check by viewing your work like that. And then you can see it. You can also see that I have, it shows a little speech bubble right here. So you want to make sure if it has that, especially none of these other ones do. So that's another way to tell. Any other questions about how to see my comments? Okay. Okay, cool. All right. What are we doing next here? So And you should have added an ly adverb and a who which to your story this last week. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and move on to the next story, because we're done with this one. You guys did the eagle and the jackdaw. Okay. So go ahead and open up your binders, and we're going to put away the eagle and the jackdaw. There's also that story called the Komodo dragon. We're not going to do that one. We're going to skip that one. So you can just put it behind finished compositions. So back here, that tab, remember back here, finished compositions, find that tab. And then behind the work that's there, just go past everything you have in there. That's where you're going to put your week 3. I want you to have this part on top, but it doesn't matter the order behind that page. I just want that page to be on top. This is the overview page for the eagle and the jackdaw. So your keyword outline, your story, if you have it printed. If you didn't print your story, don't worry, you don't have to put it in your binder. You can leave it on the Google Classroom. And your checklist, all that stuff, the original story goes behind that.
What do you do with the yellow page?
Oh, thank you. I forgot about that page.
The synthetic techniques.
Stylistic techniques, that one?
Yeah, that.
Okay, don't put that one away yet. Keep that one out. Just put away the rest of the stuff. Thank you for that, Ian. Jason?
Yeah, sorry, 2 questions. One is on
Okay.
the doc and one is on here. So I forgot to ask this, but I've been having trouble because my default account right now is my school account. So when I'm creating a doc, it takes me to my school account. So I figure it's pretty easy to share it with my account that's on Classroom. And then it says I must send something that's mine, even though I created it on a different account. So I downloaded it, and then it shows as a PDF, but then you can't really comment on it. So I need to know if, like, I need to do something different.
I can still comment on PDF until you figure out how to fix that. That'd be too much to explain right now in the classroom and during class, but the thing that you would have to, I'll just try to explain it quickly, but you know how that little icon on the upper right that shows whose account you're logged in as? That's showing you you're logged in as your school account. You can change that, switch the account to whatever Gmail you're using for Google Classroom. You'll have to switch that, and then you should be able to open up the Google Docs and do it on a different account. But if that's too tricky and you're uploading it as a PDF, there's still a way for me to comment on that. So we'll try it this week. If it's a PDF this week, I'll try it, and then I'll let you know, okay?
Okay, thanks. And also,
Okay.
do we put the story we didn't do on finished compositions as well?
Yes, exactly. The
Thank
Komodo
you.
dragon. Yep, put that back there too. Okay, and then as far as the yellow page that Ian was talking about, that page is actually going to go, hold on, let me check something really quick. Okay. The yellow page is going to go behind stylistic techniques back here. This yellow page 21. That was part of a week before, I think. So is that the page you were talking about, Ian?
Yeah.
Okay. I think everybody else has it back there, I think. So go ahead, Ian, put it behind stylistic techniques. Goes right there. And then you're going to go to the front of your binder and get out the next week, which is week 4. So you're going to go back to the front and behind the source text tab, that first tab, you should see week 4, the miller and his son and their donkey. Go ahead and take out all of week 4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Somebody have a
I
question?
thought you said skip the next one.
I wanted you to skip the Komodo dragon one. That was part of week 3. So I don't want you to skip week 4. That's important. Okay. So you should have week 4
I
out.
didn't have it. I didn't have Komodo dragon anyway. So
Okay, then don't worry about that because we don't need it anyway. But you should get out week 4. We do need that. Do you have that, Ian? Okay, good. Should be 4 pages. So go ahead and get out week 4. You also need just one lined piece of paper for today for the lesson, and then you're all set. So all of week 4 and a lined piece of paper. Okay. We're moving on to a new unit today, unit 3. This one, we're going to talk about a story sequence chart. Now, before we get too deep into it, I do want you to look at this yellow page here. This is page 39. This is part of the stuff that you took out for week 4. When you have a story or a book or even a movie, there's a pattern that it usually follows, not 100% of the time, but most of the time. Okay. And the pattern is in the beginning, it usually introduces the characters in the setting. Who's in the story? What are they like? When does it happen? And where do they live or go? So what I like to always give the example of, I know Kylie remembers this example, but talking about Kung Fu Panda. Remember how we talked about that last year? The first one, okay? Hopefully you've seen it. If not, it's okay. And I'm sorry if it's a spoiler alert, but when the opening scene happens in the first movie, you see Po, who's the panda, right? And he's playing with his action figures. And the action figures are the characters of this team, this Kung Fu team, right? And so right at the very beginning of the movie, they're introducing the characters in the movie. That's a good example because that's what we do in our writing too. When we're writing a story, like a nonfiction story, a made up story, or no, a fiction story, sorry. It's a made up story. That's usually how we start. In the middle, we talk about the conflict and the problem. Usually in a story, something's wrong, right? And then the rest of the story is how they solve that problem. But in the middle here, they answer the questions, what do they need or want? What do they think? And what do they say and do? So the conflict and the problem usually happens here in the middle, like in Kung Fu Panda, we find out about that character. I think his name is Tai Lung, I think his name is, and he's like this big rhinoceros character with spiky shoulder things on, and he's got this armor, and he's mean, and he's big, and he's powerful, and he's trying to take over the city. And that's the problem. And then they get in this epic battle, right? They're trying to fight off this character, this bad guy. And then we get toward the end, the climax and resolution. So the climax is that part of the story where they're in the battle and you're not sure who's going to win the battle, right? We know the answer because we've probably seen the movie, but we don't know if Po, because Po gets pretty beat up in that last scene there where he's battling this guy. And we don't know, is he going to make it? Is he going to survive? Is he going to win? Is he going to die? Is this bad guy going to take over the city? Because some stories have tragic endings, right? But the climax is you don't know which way it's going to go. I always use my hands like this, like a mountain, and you're at the top, you're at the peak, and you're like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? What's going to happen? You've seen movies like that, I'm sure, before, where you're like watching, you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? I don't know who's going to survive. And the resolution is how it's all solved, right? How the problem gets solved. How is the need resolved? What happens after? What is the message or the lesson? And then the little note here, title repeats 1 to 3 keywords from the final sentence. We're still going to have that little rule there. But this is the sequence, okay? So here's what I want you to do next. We're going to get out your lined piece of paper. go ahead and put your name here. And the date today is 10/19/23. I'm just using numbers today. And this story is called The Miller, His Son, and Their Donkey. So we're going to write the title. It's kind of a long title, so skip a line. I'm going to start over here. The Miller, comma, his son, comma, and their donkey. Long title. Go ahead and put the title there. Notice "and" is not capital, but everything else is. And that we're going to talk more about that as we capitalize titles. The first and last words are always capital, and then the key words here are capital. Notice his is also capitalized. That's because it's telling whose son. This is the adjective here. The only word we don't need is "and" in this title as far as capital. And underneath that, I want you to write story sequence chart. Story sequence chart. This is a little different than the keyword outline, but we're still going to use the same rules as a keyword outline, but we're going to build an actual chart. Okay, and we're going to do this a few times, so don't worry, this is just the first time. Skip a line, and then I want you to draw a line down a little bit to the left, not exactly in the center. See how I moved a little closer to this line here? And there's bigger space on this side than this side. So right about here, draw a line down. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be exactly straight. It's okay. Don't worry. We're just dividing your paper in half here. And then on the right side, I'm going to have you write an outline. I'm going to have you put Roman numeral 1 right next to your line that you made. And then under that, move over a little and put 1, 2, 3. So Roman numeral 1, move over a little, 1, 2, 3. Skip a line, Roman numeral 2, 1, 2, 3. I'll give you time, don't worry. Skip a line and one more, Roman numeral 3, 1, 2, 3. And when you got that, give me a thumbs up. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Kylie. Thank you, Jason. Ian, you can do an emoji when you're ready, a thumbs up emoji.
I've been ready. I didn't know. I didn't know if you wanted me to.
That's fine. You can unmute and tell me. I know your camera's off. That's okay. So now I want you to draw lines across. So right on top of the Roman numeral 1, you're just going to trace that line. And I'm going to go a little bit past my pink line here because I want to have enough space. And then right on top of the Roman numeral 2, same thing, just trace that line all the way across. Same on top of Roman numeral 3, trace it across. And then wherever your line ends down here, doesn't matter where, I just like to finish it off so that it's complete. Wherever that is, if it's longer, whatever, doesn't matter. But now I've got a chart, okay? I've got 6 boxes here. We've got these set up for 3 paragraphs, and now we're gonna fill in these on the left. The first box, remember we talked about earlier on that other chart, this is where we introduce the characters. So go ahead and write characters here, /setting. If you don't have enough room on one line, it's okay to put setting underneath that. But that first box is going to be all about the characters and setting. And this is where we answer these questions. Who, you can skip a line, who, where, and when. Put those 3 questions in there. Who, where, and when. So when we start a story, that is usually how it goes. Sometimes they like to mix all these things up. But for my class, when we're telling a story, You're going to put characters and setting first, and you're going to answer these questions: who, where, and when. So setting, in case you forgot, that means where the story takes place. The setting. Is it on the moon? Is it in Africa? Is it on a spaceship? Or in the forest or at the beach? Okay, those are all different settings. And the reason why it's important for you to identify the setting is because it helps the reader, the person reading it, imagine where they are. And that helps a lot when you're writing a story. So it's important to mention where they are in the story. The next box, if you remember from the yellow page, it's conflict/problem. And skip a line, and you're going to answer the question, what here? What does the character need? What does the character want? What is the problem? What's happening in the story? Okay. The middle box is all about that. And then, as you remember from the yellow page, the last part, this has two words too. This is climax/resolution. Now, climax, remember, is that part where we don't know if the good guy is going to win or the bad guy is going to win. We don't know what's going to happen. It's like, it's a little stressful when you're watching a movie like that, especially if there's like a battle scene or something. You don't know how it's going to end. That's called the climax. And then, of course, the resolution. So we're going to answer the question, how solved? How is the problem solved?
Should we add, was it solved, in case, like, one of the movies you were talking about earlier?
You don't need to add it to your chart, but yes, you can be thinking of that. That's good, Jason, as you're writing your stories. Yes. How it's solved, or even if it's solved. Okay, so now you've got your chart all set here and ready to go. The next step is to read the story, because we always look at a text, right? And then we write our own version of it. That's what you guys have been practicing doing. We're going to do that with this story too. We're going to read this original story, and then we're going to fill this in, and you're going to rewrite it using this chart. Okay, let's look at the story here. The miller, his son, and their donkey. I'm going to go ahead and read it, and you guys can just follow along on yours, and then we'll talk about it. It is another attributed to Aesop. And remember, Aesop is those stories that teach us a lesson. So there is something to learn here. We'll talk about that at the end. So be thinking about that. It says, a poor miller and his son were taking their donkey to town to sell him when they passed a group of women chatting by the side of the road. Why walk when you could ride? They asked the pair. So the old man helped his son mount the donkey, and he continued walking alongside. Then they met an old man who shouted, "Get down, boy, and let your old father rest his weary limbs." Upon this, the miller made his son dismount, and he got up on the donkey. Next, someone in the crowd called out, "Why, you lazy fellow, how can you ride while the lad there can hardly keep up?" Therefore, the miller immediately brought his son up with him. They had now almost reached the town, and a man commented on how they overloaded the animal, saying, "You might as well carry him as he is carrying both of you." So the miller and his son tied the donkey's legs together, while with the help of a pole, they carried him on their shoulders, staggering over a bridge near the entrance to the town. The odd sight caused bystanders to laugh until the donkey, not liking the noise or the way he was being treated, broke the cords that bound him and fell into the river. I forgot to tell you, it's kind of a sad story, but in my mind, donkeys know how to swim. So in my mind, he's okay. All right. He makes it to the edge and he lives happily ever after. So you can see the picture here. So, okay, now we read the story. What kind of a lesson can we learn, like a life lesson from this story? You guys have any ideas? What can we learn from it? Go ahead, Kylie.
Don't do what other people are telling you to do. No peer pressure.
That's a really good one. Peer pressure. Don't always do what other people are telling you to do. Now, there's one exception to that rule, okay? That's your parents. I want you all to know that your parents know and you can trust them. If they're telling you to do something or not do something, you listen to your parents. But you're right, Kylie, your peers, those are people who are your friends that are your age or younger, young people. Sometimes they'll tell you their advice and sometimes it's not always the best advice. So it's, you got to make sure you think about it. Obviously, tying up the donkey and carrying the donkey, if they stopped and thought about that, that wasn't a good idea. It wouldn't be that hard to think about that one. Okay, does anybody else have anything to add to that?
Think.
That's pretty good. I think you got it right there. Okay, so now back to our chart. We're going to take this little by little here. Remember, the first section's about the character and setting. So who is the first? Oh, by the way, we're not looking at sentence by sentence anymore. Okay, we're doing our outline now as a complete thought. Okay, a complete section of the story. So instead of sentence by sentence, you got to get that out of your head now. And let's just focus on who is in this story. So Jason, I'm going to start with you. Who are the characters in the beginning of this story?
The miller and his son.
Yes. And who else? There's one more character.
Oh, sorry. The group of women chatting by the side of the road.
Yeah, but the donkey is what I was thinking. Even though he doesn't say much, it's okay. He's part of the story too.
Sorry.
You've got the miller and you got the son and you got the donkey. So let's focus on the miller because he's mentioned first here. Okay. Let's go ahead and write Miller. I'm going to put a capital M here next to Roman numeral 1 because remember, this is the topic sentence. This is the first sentence of the paragraph. And we're introducing the character, the miller. And Jason, what is the miller doing? Where is he going? Remember?
He was going to the town to sell the donkey.
Good. Okay, awesome. So let's put, because he's also poor, so let's mention that. Let's put miller, and then let's put the word poor, because that's why he's selling the donkey. And then I'm going to draw an arrow and town. So I have my 3 words here still. We're still using the same rule. So we got miller, poor, and he's traveling to town. And I chose not to put donkey here yet because we have donkey in the title. And I think that we could do a D with a circle around it for the donkey, right? And I'm going to circle the D, even though it's capital in the title. So that'll help me remember, oh yeah, he's traveling to town with his donkey. So so far we have the miller and the donkey. Natalia, who's the other character that we need to introduce here?
The group of women,
Before that, who's with the miller?
his son.
The son. Let's talk about him next, okay? So let's put son here. So far, we are introducing these characters. We got the miller, donkeys here, and now we're going to talk about the son for a minute. What can we say about the son, Natalia? What can you tell us maybe something about who he is? I mean, we know he's the son, but do you have any words to describe him maybe? Like, I'm thinking of words like, is he helpful and obedient, or is he defiant and mean and disrespectful? Like words like that. How could we describe?
I know one.
Hold on, let Natalia think. She's thinking on it.
Helpful?
Yeah, I think he's helpful. and maybe obedient because he's helping his dad. What
Yeah.
do you think, Kylie? Do you have another one?
I was gonna say short.
Oh, in the picture, yeah. So he's short. Maybe he's young. We could say that maybe he's young. Maybe that's why he's so short. What if we put young and we put helpful? I like that one. There. A little bit describing about him. So we described the miller. He's poor guy. That means he doesn't have any money. That's why he's selling his donkey. And then we've got the son who's young and he's helpful because he's there helping his dad get the donkey to town. All right, then we come across the women. So Kylie, how are we going to describe these women in the beginning? How can we describe them?
Overseers.
Okay, they're
What
definitely.
about the donkey?
You want to describe more about the donkey? The donkey is just being a donkey right now. There's not a whole lot he's doing except for walking, right? But we have this group of women, and I'm looking for a word with their behavior. I see your hand, Jason. Let's see if Kylie can think of one. Like, what are they doing? And what are they
They're
saying?
just chatting. They're chatting.
Yeah. Do you have an idea, Jason? Yeah.
No, I had a question though.
Okay.
So, sorry. So I noticed there's like 5 paragraphs and we have like 3.
Yes.
So I'm a little confused.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. I forgot to mention that. So we're not going to write each sentence anymore. You know how last time we were looking at each sentence and pulling out those keywords for each sentence. So now you got to get that out of your head. And we're looking at a whole story, even though there's 5 paragraphs here, and we're organizing by characters and setting, conflict problem, climax resolution. So this is now going to become a 3-paragraph story that you write, even though we're using the original story to get the information. Your story is only going to be 3 paragraphs. Okay, does that help? Okay, cool. So we've got women here. I'm going to put women, and I'm kind of feeling like the word opinionated might work here because they're sharing their opinion and nobody asked them, right? They're just kind of being a little bossy. That's another good word. So let's put opinionated, bossy. Nobody asked them, and here they are. You should let your son ride, or you should ride the donkey. You know, they're just kind of making up stuff because they're just giving their opinion for some random reason. And then they get to this, the next character that comes in is this old man, and he's doing the same thing. He's telling them what to do, right? He's saying,
I can come up with things for the donkey.
okay, go ahead, Ian.
So the donkey was like, here's what's going through the donkey's mind.
Okay.
Lots and lots of people are riding me.
Yes.
Don't like it, and there's noise everywhere.
Yes. That's going to come in later.
Strong.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ian. What was that?
I'm strong, and I jumped into the river.
Keep that in mind. We're going to talk about that in a little bit because we're still. So did you notice that we're kind of going from the top to bottom here? So we want to keep with the same flow of this story, but we're focusing on some of the characters at the beginning. So here we have the old man next, and he's giving more advice about what's going on. So I'm going to put here old man, and then he's saying, get down. I'm going to put in quotes down with an exclamation mark. So he comes in and he says, get down and let your dad ride, right? I think that's what it is. Let's see. Get down, boy, and let your father ride. And by the way, when you're writing your story this week, you can go back and peek at the original to help you remember what's going on. These are just basically notes, and you're organizing by category here, by box. Okay, so we've got a good start. This is basically the characters, the setting is the town. We got that. And these are most of the characters in the beginning. After the old man, then we come across another crowd, right? And then the crowd says, why or how can you ride when your lad there can hardly keep up? So I'm going to put here, we're going to keep talking. This is where it's the conflict is coming, okay? But we got to mention a few more people here. So we're going to put crowd here. This is the conflict and problems. And now it's starting to get irritating for the donkey, especially. Ian's right. The donkey's like, he's tired and he's done with all the commenting around him. He's getting frustrated. And so the crowd says, so how can you ride while the lad there can hardly keep up? So they're saying, ride. And the son, I'm going to put an S with a circle. I'm also going to circle son in the title so I can remember that's for the son. Okay, it's a little symbol here. So the crowd says, ride and let the son ride. And so the son gets on the donkey. And I'm just going to put an arrow up. Okay, so now the son gets on the donkey. Now they're both on the donkey. This is where it's now introducing into the problem, right? Because the problem is, number one, the donkey is getting overloaded. He's got two people on his back. Donkeys can carry a lot of weight, by the way. But if the dad is a big dad, I know the son looks pretty small. Both of them on there might be a little much for the donkey to carry. So now, did I do that right? Let me check here. How can you ride while your son can hardly? Okay, so yeah, the donkey got, the son got up with the donkey, and now they had almost reached town, and the man commented on how they overloaded the animal, saying, you might as well carry him as he carries both of you. That's the problem, right? Now the poor donkey is overloaded. Let's put that, overloaded. And a man says, carry donkey. Right? I'm going to put carry donkey. All right. What happens after that?
How do you spell carry?
Carry. Let's see. We're on, I think, Ian. I see your hand, Jason. Let's see if Ian can help us. What happens after that when they say the donkey is overloaded? Now you need to carry him.
They tied him up.
They tied him up, right? They tied the donkey's legs together. So let's put tied legs together. What was your thought, Jason? Did you want to say something about that part?
Forgot it. Sorry, that's why I put my hand down.
Okay. And then what else happened after that? Jason, right here after they tied his legs together. Now we're toward the end here. What did they get next?
I believe that's when the crowd started laughing.
Right before that, like, look at this part here is what I'm thinking. With the help of a pole, they carried him on their shoulders, staggering over a bridge near the entrance of town. How can we add that to, because this is part of the problem, right? The donkey's overloaded, and now they're trying to carry this poor thing. So what did they use to carry the donkey?
I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they carried him on their shoulders. So let's put pole hairy shoulders. So the problem was the donkey was overloaded, but we got a second problem here because now the poor donkey's tied up. So the donkey's the one with all the problems, right? Now we're entering into the third part of the story. This next section here is the climax and resolution. So, oh man, we're out of time, aren't we? I'm going to help you with this last part. I'm sorry. I'm going to go a little bit long here. He's staggering over the bridge, and that's when they start laughing at him. So let's put staggered. Oops, hold on. Staggered over bridge. Bystanders. Those are people that are standing by. Bystanders laughed. And then I'm just going to put that word noise. Sorry, I'm going to do this part a little bit fast because I didn't watch the time. Donkey. And then I'm going to put that word like, and then I'm going to circle it and draw a line through it. Remember how we used that before, like not like, treated?
Opposite.
Yeah, opposite. He did not like how he was being treated. Broke cords, fell, and then I'm going to do like water, like the river. Sorry, that was kind of fast. So I got staggered over bridge, bystanders laughed, noise, donkey not like, treated, broke cords, fell, river. So the problem was solved because he did break free and he fell into the river, but it wasn't a good solve, right? Sometimes we do have tragic endings, and this one kind of was a tragic ending. Now, what you're going to do is, using this chart, you're going to rewrite the story. Your paragraphs really only need 4 sentences here, okay? You have the topic sentence, Roman numeral 1, and then 1, 2, 3. So your paragraphs don't have to be very long, but you're going to do 3 paragraphs following this story sequence chart. Now, the other thing that you got to keep in mind, sorry, I'm going long. Look at your checklist. You do have ly adverb and who, which on here for each paragraph. So make sure you have one of each in the paragraph. We talked about adding those, one to each paragraph, okay? And then you're going to give it a new title too. That's on here too. Title centered and repeats words from the final sentence. Anybody have any questions about what your homework is? Okay, good. Sorry about that, guys. You did great. Keep all this in the front pocket until you're done with this assignment, and we'll move it around later. So have a good week, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.